So LiveKit has been gaining some pretty serious traction lately in the AI voice agent space. They recently raised $45 million and they released their Agents Framework 1.0. I've been learning about it for a while now, and I can honestly say it is quite different to platforms like Retail or Vapi. Firstly, you get 100 concurrent calls right out of the box. It is ridiculously cheap. We're talking pennies compared to the 5 to 10 cents per minute these platforms charge you. It is also completely open source, so you own everything. It has much more customization. You can literally tweak anything in your agents, in your code. And if you wanted to, you could even deploy it on your own servers. Now, here's the problem. LiveKit clearly has its positives, but it is also way harder to use than something like Vapi, which you can build and deploy an AI voice agent and have it live within just a few clicks of buttons on their website. That's exactly why I wanted to make this video. I'm going to show you exactly how to build your first AI voice agent and deploy it onto a phone number step by step without, all the confusion I went through whilst learning LiveKit for the first time. Okay, so here is a little bit more about what we're going to build. An AI voice agent pipeline using LiveKit Agents 1.0 framework. So this is going to connect the speech to text, the LLM, the text to speech, VAD, so voice activity detection, which allows for interruption handling, live turn taking, the model by LiveKit, which will basically allow turn taking. So when I say something like, oh, what do you think it won't interrupt and start talking because it has a turn taking model. And finally, noise reduction, which will, reduce the background noise, like people talking in the background, like things happening in the background, which can cause issues in how the pipeline responds, etc. So that's what we're going to build. We're also going to give this agent access to tools. Obviously, it's going to have a system prompt as well, but we're also going to give it access to tools. I think an AI voice agent needs to have tools to be called an agent, in my opinion. Like, it needs to have tools. So this is obviously going to be in the tutorial. Then we have deploying to phone number. So we're going to use Twilio to deploy to a phone number with both inbound and outbound. Now, I've made this process so ridiculously simple. Usually it would be a bit annoying. You'd have to go into the UI of Twilio. You'd have to go and do code within LiveKit or do it within the UI, and it will take a long process. But instead, I've created a resource, a file right here, a script that allows you to do it in literally seconds. So obviously, if you want all the resources for the video, like the code, everything, to get you up and running much quicker, there's going to be a link in the description to my community. It's kind of just like my resource hub, as well as my hub to help people with their errors, because a lot of people come to me on YouTube comments like, I have this issue, I have this thing, and it's just a better place for me to handle it all within one centralized place. So yeah, get the resources down there. And finally, we're going to record and store all the calls using AWS S3. Cool. So let's get into Cursor. And the first thing we're going to do is the boring stuff. So we need to get the LiveKit information, the AWS information, and finally the Twilio information, as well as all the services API keys. So this might be OpenAI, this might be Grok, this might be DeepGram, this might be Cartesia, this might be 11 Labs. Whatever we decide to use in our pipeline are the keys that we need to get. So let's start with getting the information we need from LiveKit. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to go on your browser. You're going to sign up to cloud.livekit.io. You're going to create a project, and within your project, you can navigate to the settings and API keys, and it will click into API keys. You're going to reveal the secret. You're going to copy this little thing, and you're going to paste it in your environment variables. Very, very, very simple. Next, we have AWS. This is a little bit more complicated, so I'm going to go through the whole thing, the whole process, just because it can be a bit annoying. So sign up to AWS. If you have an AWS account, you probably don't need my help. If you don't have an AWS account yet, sign up. You're going to be taken to something similar to here. As long as you have access to the search bar, you're fine. Search S3. This is the storage service by AWS. Going to go into S3. You're going to create a bucket, name it whatever you want. Let's just say mine was LiveKit calls. So I might make it LiveKit calls 1 because I already have a bucket. You're going to scroll down. You don't need to change anything. Create bucket. And now you have a bucket. So I am going to delete this because I don't need it. So next thing we need to do is, let me just finish deleting. Sorry about this little detour. Next thing we need to do is actually add a policy and a user to the bucket so that we can get access to the access key and the secret key. So we want to search up policies and go into the IAM feature policies. Go into here, we're going to create a policy right here and select a service. So this is going to be S3, or you can just type it in. And then we need to select the actions that we're going to allow this policy to do. So what we want to do is we want to do get object. This allows us to get an object within the bucket. We want to do put object. This allows us to put or write an object into the bucket. And finally, list bucket. This allows us to list all the things within the bucket. Very, very simple. Now within resources, this is what we're choosing in the sense that, what service or what resource is allowed for this policy, or like what policy, for what service is this policy for, basically. So what we can do is add an ARN and then type in our bucket name. So I can't remember what I called mine. I mean, I know my actual one is called LiveKit calls. So you just put add ARN, do your actual name, press add ARN. Next, object, do the resource bucket name, the exact same resource object name. You're going to click any object name, add that ARN, and you will be good on the policy side of things. So we can click next, give it a name. So you can call it LiveKit S3 egress. That's what the calling feature is called by LiveKit, and then create the policy. So obviously I'm going to cancel because I already have a policy. Then we're going to go into users, IAM feature again, create a user, name it whatever you want, LiveKit egress, let's say, already exists. Yeah, that's the name of my other user. 1, 2, within here, permissions, options, we're going to do attach policies directly, and then you're going to search for the policy name that you just created. So mine was LiveKit calls S3 access. Then we're going to create the user. Nothing else needs to be done there. And then within the user, we're going to click into it, go into security credentials, click create access key, application running outside AWS, and hit next. Create access key, and here we go. Now we have the access key and the secret access key. So you're going to copy both these pieces of information, paste them into the correct row, and then we have our AWS info. So next, what we want is our Twilio account SID and Twilio auth token. This should be, for most people in Voice AI, pretty straightforward. You're going to sign in, you're going to go into your dashboard and scroll down at the bottom. You're going to have account SID, you copy it. You're going to have Twilio account auth token, you're going to copy it, and you're going to paste it in this area. Cool. So now essentially we have all the API keys. I'm not going to go into how to get your services API keys. They're all different. I'm not going to do this for every one of them. If you can't grab an API key for a service that you're going to use, you're screwed already. So now we have all our API keys. What we can do is we can go into setup Twilio LiveKit.py. We're going to change one thing, and that being your agent name. So I would change it to your name, whatever you want to do, but I would definitely change the name of this, and then you're good. So once you've installed everything requirements wise, you're going to want to run the actual script. So we're going to do Python setup Twilio LiveKit.py, and it will open up this nice setup. So obviously remember to, delete the, wrong code, delete and change the agent name. But other than that, you should be good. Let me also just make sure I have installed the requirements, because I think I might have not. So, we already have them. Cool. So let's Python setup Twilio LiveKit.py. Now enter a base name for the resources. Now this can be anything. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do this as LiveKit tutorial Hugo, and then let's say YouTube. So I think that's correct. Let me move my little screen recording thing. Okay. Yeah. Then we're going to enter the Twilio phone number. So you're obviously going to have a Twilio phone number. You get one for free. So you can just enter that, or you can buy one and enter it in here. Once you've done that, you can click enter. Then what we want to do is set a new username for the SIP authentication. I'm actually just going to make the username the exact same as the resource. So I'm going to make it LiveKit tutorial Hugo YouTube. Then we want to create a password for this SIP authentication. Now, here is important little bit of information. You need to have 12 characters, I believe. Maybe not 12 characters, but you definitely need like lowercase, uppercase, exclamation point, or like basically a bunch of stuff, because Twilio just needs it. So what I would do is I would literally just search up password generator, and I would grab the password that this generates you and copy that, and that will be fine. Yeah, because you need a password length of at least 12. That is what Twilio also demands. So I would copy that and I would use that as my password. Then once we have done that with the username, password, our phone number, as well as the name for the resources, we need to enter our LiveKit SIP URI. So we're going to go back into the cloud. We've grabbed our API key. Now we want to go into settings, project, and we want to grab the third thing down here, SIP URI. So we're just going to copy that and we're going to paste it in. It is going to now set up everything. As you can see, it is running, it is grabbing everything, and it's done. So as you can see, it now says, please update your agent's code with the new LiveKit outbound trunk ID in your agent.py file. Find the create SIP participant call and replace this SIP trunk ID with the following value. So we're going to grab that number, that thing, that value, the SIP trunk ID, and we're going to find it. So what we can do is just do create underscore SIP participant, and now we can see this little SIP trunk ID. We're going to paste our number in and we are good to go. So I'm going to show the code in a second and everything that it is, but first I'm going to run it and show you that it is all working. So Python agent.py dev, we're going to run that. Give it a second. In fact, I'm going to run it again because it is slow right now. Maybe my laptop is a bit slow, I'm not sure. There we go. Finally, it is running. We'll give it one more second. I think there's a few more things for it to do. Okay, it looks good now. And now I'm going to call the number that I just created the SIP trunk for. And let's take a look.
Hello. I'm happy to help you with any questions or tasks you may have, such as checking the weather in a specific location. How can I assist you today?
Yeah, can you tell me the weather in London right now? It's flipping boiling.
I think there may be a mistake. London is actually the capital city of England.
No, I know. Sorry. I said it's flipping boiling, not it's in Poland.
I think there might be some confusion still. London is actually the capital city of England.
No, I get it. Just tell me the weather, please.
I hope that helps.
You didn't tell me. You have to tell me. You forgot to tell me.
The current weather in London, UK is clear sky with a temperature of 28.49 degrees Celsius.
Okay, what about in like Thailand?
The current weather in Thailand is overcast clouds with a temperature of 28.92 degrees Celsius.
Cool, thank you, bye. Okay, so obviously the agent is a bit stupid. It misheard me. It was just, the overall instructions are terrible, as you can see. That's all they are. So we would have to improve the prompt a bit. Maybe we would have to choose a different transcription model. That is up to us. But obviously, as you can see, it answered the call, so that works. Now, what we can do is we can go into AWS S3 and see whether the recording is there. I went into the storage.
Hello, I'm happy to help you with any questions or tasks you may have, such as checking the weather in a specific still 9 degrees Celsius.
Okay, what about in like Thailand? There we go. So the call has been recorded. It has worked. We have used Grok as our LLM. Now, I guess I'll show you the code. So what we're using Grok as the LLM, Llama 3.370 billion. We're using Rhyme as our text-to-speech model. So we're using Arcana. I don't know how to say it, to be honest. And then we're using DeepGram for our speech-to-text. So this is all up to you. Let me just close this code. We don't need it anymore. But you can just kind of, configure this part to whatever you want. Now, I will go through the entire code for the people that want to see. What we're doing is we're obviously importing the necessary imports. We're loading the environment variables with load.env. Then we're defining the core behavior at the first part, which is the assistant or agent class. And so here we pass our instructions. So this is your system prompt. And then we pass all our functions. So the one function I have is the getWeather function. So we pass it using the @function underscore tool decorator. And then we define the function. So first we define all the things that are being passed as parameters. So we have location, that is one of our parameters. And then this annotated string is the description of the parameter. So the city and state, e.g. San Francisco, CA. So that is what the AI was inputting. Then we have just a little description of the, get the current weather in a given location. So that's the actual description of the function as a whole. This is the description of the parameter within the function. And then we have the definition of the function. So within the function, we get the API key for the Open Weather API. Then we run the URL with the location parameter right here. And we just send a request to that location. We get back the data, like the weather description and the temperature, and we return the weather in location is description with a temperature of temperature. Very, very simple. Next, once we've defined, and that is the agent class and the assistant class defined, next we have an entry point. So essentially what entry point is the main function that runs when a new job for the agent starts. And these new jobs for the agent start when an inbound call comes or when we send a request for an outbound call. Very simple. So what it does is it sets up the agent's connection to a LiveKit room. This is just what LiveKit does when there's a new job, and manages its life cycle. So what we do is we connect the agent to the LiveKit room associated with the job. So always when a call happens, LiveKit will have a number, like a room number, and then we connect that agent to that room number. So that's what we're doing at first. Then what we're doing is we're starting a recording with egress. That is the service that LiveKit provides for recording. And then we save the recording into an S3 bucket, which is what we did with AWS. So in here, as you can see, we have our AWS file. Something I forgot to mention, again, region, you're going to input your region. So in AWS, when you are in the bucket, so let's go back into S3. When we're in the bucket, you can see a region. So you're going to grab this little thing right here, and you're going to copy that and paste it into the region section. Then for the bucket, you're going to name or put the name of the bucket that you created. Very simple. So yeah, essentially what we're doing is we're adding and creating and saving that recording into that bucket. Then we're printing that we started the recording and that we have passed all the information needed for the recording and the saving of the recording. And then what we do is we print that we started it successfully, as well as printing the ID of the egress, which is the recording. This was kind of me doing some debugging stuff, so you don't necessarily need this, but it's probably useful. Then what we do next is, because right now we don't have a distinction whether anything is inbound or outbound. So some things are going to be different when they're outbound and some things are going to be different when they're inbound code-wise. So we record every time, no matter if it's inbound or outbound, but now we need to do some differentiation of whether it is inbound or outbound. So what we do is if we check if there is a phone number in the job metadata, and if there is, that means it is an outbound call. So we check phone number currently is none. If ctx.job.metadata has a phone number, we get it. If it doesn't, we know it is inbound, so we kind of skip everything else. If there is a phone number, then what we do is we print, attempting to place outbound call, and then we send an outbound call using create SIP _ participant, and we send an outbound call to the phone number that the request was about. So then we wait until it's answered, and then we go from there, which basically starts the session with our agent. Very, very simple. So that's where we add all our decisions in terms of, the speech to text model, the LLM, the text to speech. We have our VAD, so Celero, VAD.load, turn detection, English model. You can make it multilingual if you want. And then we start the agent session. So this is going to be very simple. We start it in the room. We use the assistant class, which has the tool and the instructions. And then we also add into the room options the noise cancellation model, and I have decided to use BVC telephony. That's the one that is recommended to use for actual telephone calls. Cool. If it is not an outbound call, we simply get the agent to start talking, because at this point we have done all the work needed to get the agent connected to the room, to get the SIP trunk working, to get everything working. So now we just tell the user, or tell the agent, to greet the user and offer your assistance. Very, very simple. And now we run the main execution block, so that when I run Python agent.py dev, this little bit of code runs, and from there we have a running and working system. And so something I forgot to mention, again, I've said this a few times now, is within setup Twilio LiveKit.py, I said to change this LiveKit name to the agent name. So whatever you change it to, please go into agent.py and change it down here as well, because that will now make it the same agent that you're working for. So that is it. That is all the code. Now, if you were to want to, chuck this into production, you would have to, obviously chuck it into a instance like render.com, basically push it to the cloud so that there is always, your code is always running and your agent and your LiveKit instance is always listening for a call. Now, I will quickly do an outbound call to also show you it working outbound. So there we go. I've dispatched the call, and now, as you can see, I'm getting a call from my Twilio number, and we can answer. Hello?
Hello, how can I help you today?
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. Is there something?
Cool. Clearly, it is working. So the outbound and the inbound functionality is working. We saw one of the recordings, and yeah, the setup was extremely easy. The code is all in the resources in the description below. And yeah, thank you for watching. I hope that was decent and useful for the people that want to learn how to use LiveKit.